Okay, this is Elijah with MediaTek, and we are live with another Q&A with Solar Integrated Roofing Corporation. With us today is CEO Dave Massey, and this will be our final Q&A with SIRC, Solar Integrated Roofing Corporation. Dave, how are you today?
Hey, Elijah, I'm doing great. Thank you. It's Elijah, right?
It is Elijah, yes. Glad
Okay.
to hear it. Anything you'd like to say before we get into the questions, or do you want to jump right into it?
Let's jump right in. We might have a closing statement, but let's get into them.
All right, fair enough. First question is on funding. Where are we in the funding process right now?
The funding process is a daily process for me. It's something I work on every day. I have 2 or 3 meetings a day. We've interviewed about 8 or 9 ABL lenders, working on some equity pieces as well. Um, we're trying to raise north of $100 million. Raising that kind of money takes time. It never goes as fast as anyone wants it to, but we're confident we're going to get some good results.
All right, and why has there been a delay in funding when it was previously stated it was lined up after the filing of the Form 10?
I don't know if it ever said it was lined up. It was the market conditions have changed quite a bit. If you guys noticed, interest rates are rising, banks are going out of business. The entire public market lending landscape has changed tremendously in the last 30 days, just since we started looking at funding. But it's taking more time. People are scared right now in the market and in the banking world.
Certainly understandable. And it looks like another question was similar. Uh, you had stated, well, the question was at this point, how much money is SIRC counting on receiving and what are the expected terms? It looks like you're still negotiating terms, but you're looking for upward of 100 million. Is that correct?
That's that's correct.
All right.
Excuse me.
And the final question on funding is, can you clarify your timeline as to when you believe you will receive the funding to complete the acquisition of Plemco and for future expansion?
We're pretty confident the final acquisition of Plemco is not a big ask, and I'm sure we can get that done by the end of the year. And the funding is up to the bank side. I'm working with their timelines.
All right, perfect. Next question on to the share structure. There is a discrepancy between the Form 10 reporting and the investor presentation. Shareholders want to know if Pablo converted 800,000 preferred B shares into 8 million common shares.
I'm not sure. I don't really keep track of what he does. I have no idea if that was him or not.
All right.
But Pablo is tied up and he cannot trade his shares currently.
So if Pablo had converted his shares, they would not be tradable at this point.
That is correct.
Understood. Why did SIRC issue 25 million shares at 7 cents?
That was a complex transaction. It helped clean up the balance sheet, work with another investor. The end result is much better than 7 cents. But to go into all the details of the transaction probably be a little boring for the folks. But it was a positive move, definitely.
So other than just what is shown in the filings that say 25 million at 7 cents, there were other
Yeah,
movements involved in that.
exactly, yes.
Okay, perfect. Is there any chance you might change your stance on buying back shares given the current unexpectedly low share price?
We would love to buy back shares. We'd love to get overfunded and take some of the funding to buy back the shares. The current elephant in the room is funding and when it's coming and how much is coming, and that will answer a lot of questions.
Fair enough. So it looks like that if you manage to get a significant amount of funding, that still may be in the cards, correct?
Absolutely, that'd be great. We'd love to. Our goal is to, the foundation of SRC is built, and we don't feel like we need to issue a lot of shares going forward to build our revenue numbers. So I think the um, comparison between shares issued and revenue is the ratio is going to be drastically higher on the revenue side going forward.
I'm sure everyone will be glad to hear that. Moving on, the TA updated the outstanding shares to be approximately 542 million on October 3rd. Have you issued any shares since October 3rd, and if yes, for what reason?
We issued shares for a lot of reasons, for bonuses for the sales guys, some for market awareness. We're building a company here, and shares is one of the revenue streams that we use to build it. And exactly what's been issued, I'm not sure, but my guess is we've issued some in the last 2 weeks.
All right, fair enough. What is the current status of the Arbiter situation? Has a lawsuit been filed against Arbiter, or have they returned the $4.2 million deposit?
It's currently with the attorneys, and the attorneys are working it out. I'm personally confident of the result that we're going to get from the Arbiter deal, but it's it's out of my hands now.
All right, fair enough. So any further action on that will be at the discretion of the attorneys and not necessarily SIRC anymore, correct?
That's correct.
Understood. With Pablo leaving and the lawsuit against him, how will that affect SIRC? Is it expected that SIRC will lose any major contracts? How about USA Solar subsidiary?
The USA Solar subsidiary was folded into SRC before Pablo left, and we have not lost any contracts nor valuable employees with them leaving. The only thing that's really happened is, I think all would agree that work for SRC, the morale at SRC is up tremendously since the transition from Pablo as president to Stefan.
So you view Pablo's departure as a positive overall for the company then?
Absolutely. Again, it wasn't my decision. I went to the entire staff, and it was unanimous by everyone to remove him.
Understood. On July 19th of 2021, it was stated in a prior Q&A that Pablo would not be issued any shares until the lawsuit with Single Point was over. However, he was issued shares on November 5, 2021, 12 million shares while the lawsuit was still ongoing. Investors would like to know why they were misled or how they were misled in this manner.
If they felt like they were misled, it was never intentional. The way the agreement was written up, he could be issued his shares, but they would be in escrow, and he would not have access to them for 12 months until the lawsuit was settled. And we just recently made a offer to Single Point to settle a lawsuit for like $2,500 to get us out of it. I'm personally out of it. We think they'll probably be accepted. It's a very minor little. It's about over.
So it looks like, yeah, the lawsuit with Single Point might be winding down. I know some other investors had a question about the Single Point case and settlement discussions. So it looks like that may actually be coming to fruition then.
I'm actually working with Single Point with our lawsuit and their lawsuit. We kind of joined forces at this point.
Understood. How many new independent directors and management leaders would you bring into the company? This includes the president, which would be one. How many new management?
As we mentioned, to get prepared for being fully reporting and moving to the NASDAQ at some point, we're going to replace the entire C-level team, including myself, and possibly bring in a new CFO. And, Wanda's doing a great job, but we're I call them the dream team, and I work with them every day now, and they're pretty fantastic.
So the entire C-suite, and then of course the president, which has already been brought on board.
Right.
All right. Next question on new management. Why are new management unable to be brought on board without added funds coming in? Is there an incentive bonus or pay so large that it requires a loan for their employment?
We're not getting a loan for their employment. They're actually going to be paid the market rate for any NASDAQ C-suite executive coming on board. and they will receive equity as well in the same manner. I mean, there's a standard in the industry of what these type of people get paid, and they will be paid accordingly. I think people are looking at it the wrong way. They're looking at what's it going to cost to get them, but if we can take this and build it to $1 billion company and get really traded at a real value, and that's our goal, and that's what we all want, then it's a win-win for everybody.
Can you speak to why shareholders don't have any information about new management yet, or what the delay on the announcements might be?
Because they're not signed on yet, and until they're part of the company, even though I'm working with them on a daily basis, they would like to not be publicly announced.
All right, fair enough. Will you continue to be chairman of the board after the transition to new management?
My preference is I'll stay on as executive chairman until NASDAQ, and after NASDAQ, I'll probably become a consultant.
Okay, simple enough. Next up, please explain how the compensation packages for new management will be structured. Will it be salary and stock or salary only? And if stock is included, please explain the details and terms of the agreement if you can.
I feel like I just did that.
Yeah, fair enough. Looks like
and give you an idea. Now when we're bringing on management, for instance, Stefan actually his equity piece, he's actually buying his equity piece. He buys it at the retail rate at the day that he signs his agreement, and we'll probably do the same with the two new executives that are coming in.
So the incoming executives are then buying on the open market, correct?
Not on the open market. They're buying the shares they're buying restricted shares at the
prevailing
price,
rate.
Right, at the price that when they sign their agreement.
Perfect. Okay. All right. What skills and assets do the new president bring to the table? Where do you see him focusing?
He worked at General Electric for 25 years. He's a brilliant executive. He's really, really smart. He has a lot of ABL lending experience from the other side, so he knows what the banks are looking for. His main goal that he currently has now is cutting costs and getting us cash flow positive. He's very conscientious of where the money is going and how we're spending it. And our goal is to create a cookie cutter business where we can do the acquisitions and grow the business and have a model in place that's it's cut and paste. I mean, he's working on that model now.
All right, perfect. It was previously mentioned that there were several companies that SIRC has the intention of acquiring. Have they been properly vetted? What is the plan to finance these acquisitions? And if possible, can you disclose any names of these companies?
I don't think it'd be fair at this time to disclose their names. They have been properly vetted. They're mainly install type companies that help with our pipeline. We're still selling more than we can produce, and our plan is to use the funding that's coming in and pay cash for them.
So these will be cash acquisitions. Are there any? Is there anything you can say to shareholders to maybe ease some of the concerns about the veracity of the companies, given what happened with USA Solar and Hunter's company?
As far as him being properly vetted to add value to SROC, is that the real question?
I think shareholders are just concerned, possibly that given the fact that there were other acquisitions that maybe didn't work out well for SIRC because of some misstatements by management. I think shareholders just want to be assured in some way that that won't happen again, so to speak.
Well, we cannot honestly say that we've learned from our mistakes, and a lot of their upside will be based on the results that they have when they're with SRC. And I'll be the first to admit that we did make some mistakes, but we came out on the other side very, very well. Our revenue forecast for this year is $200 million plus. I don't know how many shareholders thought that we would be here today, but I surely didn't, especially with some of the hiccups that we've had and the lack of funding that we had. For us to do $200+ million in 2022 in this economic situation, I think that we all should be very proud of what's happened with SRC.
Absolutely agreed. Next question. When are you planning to buy the remaining 40% of Plemco, and how? I believe you answered this by the end of the year. What is the status on the new GSA BPA for design install that Plemco was supposed to have received by the end of the year?
You know, when I saw that question, I asked Brad. He sent me a text, and let's see if I didn't really understand it, to be honest with you. It was we did not receive a contract, something about 6 zones, so they've only awarded 1 zone, and he's filing a protest about something. And my thought, if Brad wanted to go in after this Q&A and give the answer on Discord, he could. I'll ask him to do that for you guys.
All right, fair enough. So we'll wait for Brad's answer on the GSA BPA. Next is some general business questions. Just in general, how is the business going? Please give us a basic summary of what's working and what's improving.
You know, the business is clicking on all cylinders. Even though the economy has taken a turn for the worse, SRC has taken a turn for the better. Jason is still doing a great job in the residential solar market. We're looking to bring on some new sales teams and some new install teams to possibly double that over the next year. The commercial pipeline is growing like crazy. There's a question there about balances. Going to kind of lead in that question. Balance with their contacts with all their different roofers and all their different contacts and the associates that they've met over the years is feeding our commercial pipeline 7 to 10 jobs per week. Our commercial pipeline is very robust. It's approaching almost $1.5 billion, and I don't want you guys to confuse us with revenues or jobs on the board. This is just a pipeline of current jobs that we're working. So again, the growth and the morale and the company is doing great going forward. Having Stefan on board is a big help. We're really excited. I'm really excited to get the 2 other C-suite members on board, and so we can clean up a few things and continue our path to be fully reporting and possibly on the NASDAQ next year.
Fair enough. $1.5 billion in the pipeline is very huge, considering, just since MediaTek has been representing SIRC and covering, to see the growth is, really been quite tremendous from, just a few million a year when we first got involved.
And it's and there's some pretty nice signature type projects that I can't mention, but when we do announce them, they're going to be places and establishments that are very, very well known in the public.
Perfect. Do you have other agriculture solar projects in the works similar to Callaway?
We seriously have Callaway Farms has been in business for over 100 years, and they're kind of the leader in the industry, and they have a lot of associates. They have a lot of their associates are waiting to see the success that we have on their project, and if it works the way we all want it to work, that will be an overwhelming revenue stream for us. I don't think we can keep up with it. It will be a worldwide revenue streams. Obviously, farms are everywhere in the world, and there's a big advantage to having clean energy for your wells for the farms. It really helps the farmers, and they can get premium price for the product. And it's a game changer for the farming industry and also for us.
Absolutely, and to work with such a huge company like Callaway, you can only imagine the other large companies that are waiting in the wings, just hoping for the success to be able to duplicate it to other companies.
And I'm pretty sure Callaway also expressed that when he did his Q&A.
He did, actually, yes. That was discussed quite a bit. I know he had discussed some other companies that they work with in the Middle East that were pretty large that were waiting to see the success of this joint venture with SIRC. So I'm sure that's pretty exciting for you.
Very exciting. Alex Callaway is my neighbor. He only lives about a mile from me, and his office is probably 2 miles away from me.
Absolutely. Next question. Does the inflation in the market right now affect margins and the solar sector for you guys?
All costs are going up. Fuel costs, labor costs, insurance costs, material costs are all going up. But we actually work on margin, so it just means everyone's paying a little bit more money for clean energy.
Simple question, simple answer. Next is something a little bit more shop talk here. What sun tracking technology brand does SIRC align with? Some like Iron Ridge are owned by private equity and have their own certified installer program. What is SIRC's approach to this?
That's kind of deep in the weeds, and then on the install side, it's not on my radar. I don't know if we have any tracking projects whatsoever. Solar panels are so cheap. I don't know if it's cost effective to actually have a solar tracking system with a installed with a solar system, but that's not on my radar.
Fair enough. Next question comes from a shareholder. Not to be insensitive, and all thoughts go out to the people affected. However, are the recent hurricanes presenting a business opportunity for the company? And if so, can you tell how big?
It really has not had any effect on us. We are not in that region hardly at all, and my guess is that would be a huge opportunity for a roofing company, but not really for a solar company unless they're replacing solar systems that blown off roofs. But it's not an opportunity for us.
Fair enough. What measures have you taken to make sure that SIRC as a company never comes across making deals with dishonest characters? To say it politely, what can you tell current and future investors about that? It looks like you've already talked a little bit about this.
Yeah, we learn from our mistakes, and again, we have a much savvier team that's here and a savvier team that's in place, and we're confident going forward that those mistakes won't be made again.
So it's
and
the
we have a new attorney also that's going through the vetting process. So we want to build a business with like-minded, honest people that support SRC.
So there's a new attorney. Is it accurate to say then that all of the upcoming acquisitions will be vetted by this new attorney and all of the new management that will be incoming that you're currently working with as consultants?
That's correct. And also, Stefan has a good background in M&A as well. I don't say this very lightly. Stefan might be one of the smartest people that I've ever met. I don't know if he's listening or not, but it's true.
All right. Moving on to the next question. Can you tell us something about balance claims and how much they contribute to the revenue side with potential contribution going forward?
I actually spent last week at balance claims, my first time ever being there. In Indianapolis, that's actually my home state. I was born in Indiana, so I went back for some personal business and spent the week with Stefan and Troy. Balance claims is growing like crazy. He's actually creating balanced solar, and again, that's where 7 to 10 deals from our commercial pipeline come from with all of his relationships. We have a new finance vehicle that's zero credit or bad credit funding, that if you have bad credit or no credit, we can get you funded for solar systems. So he's putting together the team that's working on that. So his current revenues are looking at $4 or $5 million. He's pretty confident when we get the funding in place and able to grow his different revenue streams that balance funding could do over $25 million next year. But this, with it added with his commercial pipelines and counting that piece as well. So Troy's doing a fantastic job.
Amazing. So it looks like Balance is expecting 500% growth in that division year over year between this year and next year, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, he's expanding to it's not going to be insurance claims growth, but it's going to be SRC market growth. That's what we've kind of done. We've kind of came together as a unit, and we've we're working well together to create, to generate our revenue as one big team, and it's given us a lot of success.
Awesome. Next up, some questions on the NASDAQ uplist. On September 26th, the company announced that it was confident in being able to hit NASDAQ without a reverse split once funding and the new management team were complete. What kind of analysis underlies this confidence?
Well, something I've learned, and at the end of my tenure as CEO is giving timelines is there's no value to that, and market conditions change constantly. And now is I last I heard with the current downtick in the market, they put a hold on uplist for 30 days. I believe that's still in place. But our plan, at least when I speak with the new management team, is we're going to come in, get things cleaned up, get it funded, and we're going to probably hang out on the OTC, either the QB or QX, until we get just a perfect running machine, revenues where they need to be, stock price where it needs to be, and then hit the NASDAQ at the right timing of the market. There's really, if we get funded, there's no big advantage for us going to NASDAQ. It's a lot more cost, a lot more regulations. It's we'd be better off, I think, staying on the OTC, focus on the business that we have, building it, generating the revenue, generating the profit, being self-funded, and get to the NASDAQ when it's a win-win for everybody.
So it looks like
But again, I'm stepping away, and that decision will be made by new management. But that's our view at this time. I know new management is no big hurry to get to the NASDAQ.
Understood. So it looks like essentially the analysis is that what makes you confident in being able to hit that price is that the company is no longer going to be forcing a NASDAQ uplist in the very near future, and will wait until it is advantageous to shareholders in terms of both price and company revenue and growth to do so. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I think our shareholders are going to be very happy with our revenue this year. We're going to meet or beat all of our expectations, and I think the share price one day will catch up with the results of the company.
All right, I know some people will be very glad to hear that. So that answers the question about which quarter you will be applying to NASDAQ, which was the next question. And obviously there's no timeline on that given the previous statement. And that answers the question after that. Actually, that answers pretty much everything about the NASDAQ uplisting and the plans pertaining to it. So we can move on to some questions about finances. Will SIRC's second half 2022 operating cash flow be positive?
We're very, very close to being cash flow positive now, and I'm sure by the first of next month, we need to increase productivity a little bit. We're cutting our expenses and getting rid of some debt on the balance sheet. So I say first of next month will be cash flow positive. And if we get a small just chunk of money, we can start turning the commercial pipeline, and we can be self-funded by the end of the year.
More good news. Perfect. Any preliminary numbers you can share with us for Q3? And if not, do you expect Q3 to crush Q2?
I'm very, very happy with the numbers for Q3.
All right. Looks like we're not going to get any more of a tidbit there. Fair enough.
We got to be careful. We just can't give out, can't give out forward-looking information. But
Understood.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
Glad to hear it. Has there been any discussion of a loyalty program or install package for shareholders?
But there's not been any discussion that I'm aware of.
All right.
I don't know what something like that would look like.
Fair enough. What is the name of the new marketing company that you signed a 1-year agreement with, and how will they help to promote SIRC?
Their name of the company is SRAX, SRAX, and they're nationwide marketing company. They actually, we use them also to get our Novo list and our the list of all our shareholders. They have they do this for a lot of different public companies. They literally have 11 million clients that are on their email list that invest in clean tech. So they'll obviously send an email out about SRC and our results and our success and our press releases and our earnings, and keep in touch with them. And they're putting landing pages out and websites out and working on social media. It's an entire 12-month, very aggressive marketing campaign to reach new shareholders. I actually love our current shareholders, but we would like to have a lot more.
I'm sure they'd like to hear that just as much as you like to say it. That was our last question from shareholders. Do you have a closing statement or anything else you'd like to add?
Well, this is kind of a bittersweet day for me. I realize this is my last Q&A, and means that I'm getting ready to hang up my cleats and move on to something else. But I appreciate all the support from the shareholders, and I want you guys to know that we're going to work really, really hard to build SRC to be the clean tech company that you guys know that we can be. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be the CEO for SRC.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure on behalf of MediaTek working with you and with SIRC. And we've watched you guys grow from a very small, local roofing company into, really a national commercial and residential powerhouse. And it's been impressive to watch. And, we're glad to have been here and able to watch you do that. So thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. The future's bright.
Couldn't say it better myself. All right, Dave, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to shareholders for attending our final Q&A. Dave, have a wonderful night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.